Hello, this is Holly Baade, the joyful warrior, a shaman with an open heart. And I've been coming to you each day in this short series from December 1st to the 31st, giving a little sneak peek into the Shaman in You training that has been given to me to give to you. Today is day 9. And I'd like to tell you a special story. This is the story of when I met the goddess of fire and new earth, Pele. At the time, I was living in Sausalito. I rode my bike from the docks where I lived up the Highway 1 just a little bit to a place where I could access the larger ocean on the other side of the bay by way of a trail called Tennessee Valley. It's a very beautiful hiking trail that people go on that is a little valley that has a cleft of cliffs from one side to the next where you can just kind of get through a little bit, snake through a little bit, and find a really inspiring beach. So I was on my way to this beach when I was inspired to stop and climb a tree. The tree was in a meadow, and I had my drum with me. So I started to beat the drum, close my eyes, and pray. I was just praying a thank you for such a beautiful day and sort of letting my mind wander and float upon the melody. I really didn't have an intention to seek out any specific direction, just communing with nature. Right away, a white tiger came out of the grasses towards me. No, not escape from the zoo, just in my mind's eye. A spirit tiger. So the spirit tiger came out of the grass towards me and looked at me until it saw me see it clearly and beckoned to me with sort of a stare that I've seen from power animals before in shamanic journeys, in dreamscapes, where there's a sort of a directive being given that you pay attention. So I'd seen this before, and I knew it meant that I should follow. So in my mind's eye, I jumped down from the tree, while in my body, I was still drumming and had my eyes closed. But following the tiger, we wandered through the meadow some distance, and then we snaked and circled downward below the mountain, below Mount Tam. When I got into the opening, the cave down below the mountain where the tiger led me, there were wisps of white lightning everywhere, static electricity. When you see aura, it looks like little fusions of sparks dancing on the edges of whatever is auraing, whatever form that you're perceiving the aura around. It's little wisps of gentle lightning dancing. And this is what was in the cave. But instead of just being like a gentle glow, it was all fire. It was all electrified. And the sparks were larger to my mind. Everything was alive with electricity. Some invisible hands started to disrobe me. So whatever I was wearing in the vision began to be taken off of me. And I stood there in my naturalness in the cave, in the white lightning, still not really sure what was happening. There's a lot of symbolism and body felt communication that happens in journeys, which can include not wearing clothes or changing clothes, sometimes dying, being dismembered, or having all of yourself changed from one thing into another to give you a message to allow thought pockets into your body that convey meaning. At this point, I didn't know what the meaning was. I was just still sort of waiting to see what was happening, what message was coming. And that's when she appeared. She's very tall, like 7 feet to my mind. And she had a very long neck. And she was wearing a all white lace dress. And the dress accented her long, graceful, beautiful neck. And she had the coffee colored skin of a Hawaiian, beautiful honey brown. And her hair, her dark, dark velvet black hair, was not hanging down, but rather was creating a halo as it stood up on end in a circle all around her head, sort of like the drum behind me, just like spread it all out, glowing, magnificent, ominous, inspiring, a little terrifying, actually. And then the invisible beings that had taken off my clothes, they draped something onto me. It was a white dress. It was beautiful, also a little lace, a little iridescent. Put a sash around my waist and then started putting flowers in my hair. Like I was getting dressed for a wedding. And then Pele came closer and she began by reaching out her hand with a clear crystal, quartz crystal, and she put it into my mouth. She told me to swallow. Couldn't do magical things like that when you're in a shamanic journey. I felt it go into my belly, my third chakra. And then she put other stones, gemstones, into each of the points, the marma points on my shoulders and my hips. She walked around me and she took her hands and she just drew them down, like she was smoothing the energy all around me. And then when she came back in front of me, she turned around for a moment, facing the opposite direction. And then she came back towards me. And in her hand, there was a baby, a little baby. And she put the baby into my arms and then into my womb, into my body. And then she said to me, "And now you will do something for me." And in my mind's eye, in the dream, I saw myself waking up at dawn and going to my drum and lighting a candle and singing and praying for the earth and the land all around me. And I got the somatic body felt download thought from her that I should do that each morning, that should be a practice that I commit to doing, to energetically connect with and pay for the gifts she had given me, which I didn't know what they meant at the time, really, although it felt really lovely to receive gifts from such a magnificent, benevolent being. I had been to Hawaii, but not at a time where I was necessarily shamanically aware or seeking to be there for spiritual reasons, but other than the fact that I'm always kind of even since a child operating from a spiritual place. But I went for a belly dance workshop actually, and I wasn't really there for praying or for trying to meet Pele in any way or anything like that. And of course, Pele is the same goddess that is loved and revered and known in all cultures by different names. You know, she's where New Earth comes from. She lives within the womb of the earth. So I just feel her presence now as I'm speaking to you with overwhelming magnetism. So I said thank you to her, and I found my way back up to the place where I was sitting, drumming. And I thought about what happened as a turning point for me, because up until that point, I had really only felt the strong direction of the chief. But although I had met other spiritual benevolent beings, even angels, I had never really been in the employ of another besides the chief. But the next morning, and for many mornings after, and many mornings since, I would rise at dawn and drum and pray for the land. I remember in 2005, right after I had a divorce and right before the chief came to me and opened my heart to see, I had been praying for guidance in my life. And I drew a tarot card. It was, morning I was sitting and drinking some tea, and I drew a tarot card. And in the card had Mawe, who is the African goddess of the earth. And it said, you are meant to heal the earth. You're meant to bring your gifts and be of healing for the earth. And I remember putting that card away because I thought to myself, like I set it aside as though it was something like a snake. Not because I didn't want to help the earth, but because I felt, who am I to really be able to make such a large impact in the larger world for the earth itself? I felt small in a way, too small to really affect real change. And I felt drawn instead to trying to work to make a difference in people's lives through organized structures and the corporate culture. And so, aside from my love of just running in nature or swimming across a river, something, an athletic pursuit, I wasn't really feeling devoted, or that my life's purpose was about being a governor, somebody who is a steward of the earth. Like many, I guess, Americans, just being more of a consumer who tries to put the garbage in the right recycle bin is my form of caring about the earth, really minimal. Even though, of course, as I'm sure you can tell, I've always been a very compassionate person for all living creatures. But my mind was elsewhere. And I remembered that card after Pele came to me. And when I began my morning drumming, it was a quiet thing to do. Just wake up and drum with the moon and draw a circle around me, around the geographical region that I was living, which was on the side of Mount Tam at the time, in Sausalito. And I feel in my heart that it was the beginning of a new way of understanding my shamanic gifts and purpose. You can't go directly to something in order to fight it. If it's filled with evil intentioning, it's like trying to grasp the dark. You hold on to nothing. But you can turn on a light. And the light is what brings healing, brings the feeling of safety and comforting. And that's what we need to do within ourselves and also within the world we live in. So, yes, on one hand, it's good to confront things in life that are not fair or right or loving. But a way we can make change without confronting is to simply envision what we're wanting and praying actively for that to come to fruition. And it's not a little thing. It's monumental. Just think what would happen if everyone who lived in, say, a 30-mile radius around you began praying for peace with clean water and clean air and purity of all the natural resources that we need. Do you think that would make a difference? It surely would. And as I started drumming every day to say thank you for the gifts that Pele had given to me, which I really still didn't know what they were, I began to see that her request for this payment was actually also a gift for me, because the act of doing it was developing something in me that had also been missing, which was not a daily practice of journeying. I had that, but a practice of feeling like I could be a part of a new earth, of something that wanted to be born from something that already was existing, like an evolutionary step for not just people's hearts, but for the earth itself. And being a part of that alive, unseen consciousness that moves through everything that's growing from the earth as a prayer. And it felt healthy. And it also was the beginning of my work as a shaman, not for people, but for places, and not for money. Of course, I've worked as a shaman thousands and thousands, maybe millions of times for free for people that had needed a shaman to show up and help them regain their soul and their body. Primarily, that's the work that I do for other people. But this was something else. It gave me a feeling of being connected to the elders and the spirits of the land that walked here before me in California, the tribal people. But even further back than that, to the beginning of time, before time, in the primordialness of the dawning of time. Because every time I would drum in the morning, I would also feel Pele under my feet. And it began slowly but grew steadily that wherever I was, if I put my awareness into my hara, the seat of my soul where the baby was given to me, I could feel her connectivity. And I began to realize that I could ground a space with her assistance in this way, this connection to her, for hundreds of people at once. And this was very helpful because at the time I was going to festivals, the lightning in a bottle, lucidity, symbiosis. I had been invited to teach. But the consciousness there was challenging with people in different sorts of ways of inhabiting their being on substances or not, and feeling elated or not, going through some emotional processing. And I just needed to be able to effectively help people heal in an instant. The way I could ground the earth underneath me through the connection that Pele gave me was quite astonishing. And people would comment on the experience they were having as though they'd never experienced or felt anything like it. And I had never. So I guess the chief knew that I needed a bit more grounding and help with grounding a place in the earth to be able to do ceremony very quickly. And practice praying for the earth and communing with the earth for its own sake in a love making. Yeah, as a village shaman would. And some takeaways from this story about Pele, who I still work with today. And, I've met many people who also work with her and who feel called and protected by her in some way. Is that there are these powerful, benevolent beings that are greater than we are in terms of there's a plan for this place, for this earth. Ra Uruhu, the creator of the human design, he says that humans would be wise to think of themselves as passenger consciousnesses, witnessing a process of birthing, a physical experience of something birthing, a spiritual process of something birthing, and that we would be wise to understand that we are passengers, that there's something happening that we are witness to. And for myself, I've also learned that that's true of my own personal destiny. That no matter how much foresight and premonition dreams that I've been given for things happening, and so trying to avoid them, there's been no avoiding what I was shown was going to be my path. The only thing that has really been very apparent that I could do to change my future is what frequency I hold inside of my being. Our energetic set point, our emotional energetic set point is something that we all need to begin to become aware of and manage effectively. There's a lot of talk about, metaverses and timelines, and I can speak to that quite extensively. But one thing that I'd like to say today is that if you want to track to the highest potential of yourself and to fulfill your soul's purpose, you have a purpose why you're here, then you want to elevate yourself into the greatest feeling of love that you can have and hold on to as a resting place, so that beneath any other surface feelings, there's just love. And that if you're able to do that, you'll track to not just your own highest potential, but also to the potential within the future of the world we share, where there's the least amount of suffering and the greatest joy happening. So we'll talk more about that in the training in the level 8 magic and manifestation. Today, I feel really joyful sharing the story of Pele. I'm still learning what having her in my life means. She is one of my employers. My hope for you in meeting the shaman in you is that you too can feel like you're always held and supported by the spirits that are meant to guide you, whether they are Pele or Christ, the Archangel Michael, the Golden Goddess, the woman that lives beneath the river, that runs beneath the river. We're not meant to journey alone. We're not meant to journey without encouragement of our heart from other people, in our community, in our families, and beings on the other side that want to be of service and help connect us to live in right relationship with the earth and our purpose. I hope you enjoyed today's story and that you feel inspired to come a little closer to meeting the shaman in you. Thank you. Until next time.